Hello, going live here soon. Amrit Birring will be joining us. Amrit is running for mayor of Surrey, and he's the founder of the municipal political party called People's Council. I expect that he'll be joining us somewhere in the next 5 minutes or so. I'm just going to get queued up here with my laptop on the side. Here we go. For mayor. And I will have a chat. Anyone listening to this, after it airs, it's going to live on the Facebook group. Amrit is running for mayor for the city of Surrey on Saturday, so please get out and vote. But because this conversation is going to live on the Facebook group, I ask that you, if you know anyone in Surrey that can vote for him, that would like to vote for him, please tag them in the comments after this conversation is over, when this live stream has been posted to the Facebook group. Hi, Amrit. Just a couple more things, Amrit, and then I'll bring you right in. So everyone, please, I just want to stress again, a lot of questions about travel happen all the time. They're all the same questions. They're one of three topics: flying within Canada, flying to the United States, or crossing the land border by vehicle. They're all to do with that. I can't approve them all. So if you're asking questions about travel and it's getting declined, it's because there's already been a lot of the same question being asked. So regardless of even what you're asking, try a keyword search on the group. The little magnifying glass, emoji, I think it is, little magnifying glass icon. I'm not sure what to call it. But then you just do a keyword search and see if the information is on the group, because it's taken up a lot of my time to constantly go through dozens and dozens of pending posts every day, when much of them are all about the same topic. I approve some of them, so the information exists. So please, it'll just save us all a lot of time, and perhaps you the heartache from seeing your post get declined. That if you just did a keyword search first. Hi, Joe. Hello, Tanya. So I just wanted to say that I'm gonna stress that as often as I can, because it's a continual issue. Dare I even call it a problem? But it's something that needs to be addressed often. And on that note, I think I see Amrit Birring asking to join, and I'm gonna approve you now, Amrit. Hopefully it works. Adding you, yeah, right on. I'll just wait for you to show up here. It's saying adding, it's flashing. Hey, Amrit, there you are.
Hey George, how are you?
I'm good, man. Good to see you.
Okay, good to see you again.
Yeah,
Let me adjust my camera.
sure thing. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, perfect.
It was nice to meet you last week at the rally. That was fun. That was a fun rally. It was a good turnout.
Yeah, very lively environment.
Yeah, a lot of
It's
positivity.
always good for our motivation. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I enjoyed just how positive it felt. So many rallies, there's talks about doom and gloom. And, of course, there was some unfortunate stories, it being a rally, in front of the building of the BC College of Physicians and Surgeons.
Surgeons.
But it was still a very positive feeling in the air, and a lot of optimism, and people feel emboldened and strengthened. And I like that. So how was your Thanksgiving? Do you celebrate Thanksgiving? How was your last week since I saw you?
Yeah, I got together with some friends. Someone cooked three of us. So quite time, but yeah, very nice and very nice dinner.
Mm, great. Yeah. Melissa cooked up a great turkey. I tried to help, but I think it was best that I just stayed out of her way. She,
Okay.
and just, did what she said. She did a great job. So yeah, we really enjoyed it. We actually just finished it tonight. It lasted for a few days, so that was great.
Okay, that was still quick. Sometime it can last for a week or 10 days at least.
Yeah, it wasn't very big. We because there's just two of us, and then we had one
Yeah.
friend join us, but yeah, it wasn't very big, so we just didn't want to. We didn't want to have a turkey forever.
Yeah, I remember making sandwiches for next 2 weeks of leftovers.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. Um, so are you ready for Saturday? How are things shaping up? Like, let's talk about the last few weeks and also what the next few days are going to be like for you. I've been curious about how things are going for you since we last spoke here.
Yeah, since then there have been 3, 4 debates where
Mm,
all the mayoral candidates come, like organized by Surrey Board of Trade and South Surrey and White Rock Chamber of Commerce. One was by Kwantlen Student Union, one
mm.
by SFU Student Union,
Oh, cool. That's
and
interesting.
yeah, incidentally in SFU one, not many people showed up. It was live streamed, so we don't know how many people were watching,
Hmm.
but the Kwantlen was well attended. And they're not done yet. The last one is tomorrow evening by Cloverdale Chamber of Commerce. It's in KPU Cloverdale campus, and by now it's the same questions come up, 7, 8 same questions, and all the
Let's hear 'em.
candidates.
Let's
Yeah,
hear some of the. I want to hear what are some of the questions you're hearing that all the same. If there's some of the same, give
housing
me housing
housing affordability is big one, and infrastructure is big one.
for what? Infrastructure for what? For
Like
community stuff?
yeah, the transit, since
Oh,
since roads getting clogged and a lot
mm,
of people take transit. It's like SkyTrain, building more SkyTrains. And then the issues come about police transition, crime. So the buzz is that a lot of crime is happening, how to control that. Surprisingly, they have not talked about climate change for some weird reason in this
mm.
entire debates. Probably that's not the in vogue anymore. It might come back, but they didn't talk about in this debates. So
What
yeah,
about
yeah.
what about mandates? Did mandates come up much?
No, that doesn't come up because that's not the issue for majority of people and the career politicians. I mean, they are the one to cause it, so they think it's normal, so no problem for them.
Yeah, it's like it's normal. Yeah.
Yeah, but I do bring up at least once during my answers, one way or the other. Like in Surrey Board of Trade, there was a general format is, it's not really debate, they call it debate. General format is the MC asks a question and then every mayoral candidate answer its turn by turn, time 90 seconds or so,
Hmm.
hard cut off. And then they ask second questions and then everyone answered 8 people. And in the starting, they give you a minute or so for your starting pitch. And in the end, they give the closing remarks one by one. So
Mm.
in Surrey Board of Trade, they did say, okay, everyone can ask one question of any of the candidates of your choosing. So I asked Sukh Dhaliwal, who is a member of parliament under Justin Trudeau's government.
Yeah.
I asked him why they violated people's informed consent and why they forced jab people and why they let go of them. So his answer was as expected. We
Well,
followed the advice of health officer and science, and I am proud of our work. And that's it. Yeah.
so when you asked him that, let's talk about that a little bit. When you asked him that, what was the crowd's response like, the audience at the debate? And in regards to his answer, did people sound like they supported it, his answer, or did he get booed? Because I'd love to hear that he got booed.
Sorry, I got booed or
No,
he?
he got booed. Did he
Yeah.
get booed when he answered,
You
or
know, I wish that were the situation, but the fact is, we are 8 mayoral candidates, 6 with parties. So majority of audience is their council candidates, which is 8 for most of them. So they fill the audience, and some other people who are their supporters, they come. So they are all in it. For them, it's just neutral. They just, there's no reaction.
People don't react in the audience. You don't hear,
All you hear
gasps
is,
or anything.
like his team, he might have 10 people sitting there. So they might clap after his answer. And for me, generally we have 3, 4 people. They clap, and generally whole audience can do some minor clapping just as a common etiquette. But there's not whole lot of neutral spectators sitting there who, based upon the merit of question and answer, applaud it. So it's not that spontaneous, unfortunately.
So maybe it was just my wishful thinking, but it's great that you got up there and were able to ask him that. That's great. That's good on you for that.
Yeah, because it's recorded and anyone can watch it later.
That's great.
They're all on YouTube.
I remember the last time we spoke here, you talked about a candidate's debate that they weren't releasing, and they were using the excuse was that they were trying to get it closed captions so people who can't hear can read it, and you were asking them to just release it for the people who can hear, and then follow up in the near future with whenever they're done with the closed captioning. What's the status on that debate? Because you had a lot of talking points come out in that one, and you were suspecting that it might have been because of that reason that they were delaying it. Whatever happened with that?
It never came out. It's just mum on it. That was September 7th, first debate.
Yeah.
If they had released it, it would have put me on map and other people would have researched me more. So I asked them, the same people from there, they were at South Surrey and White Rock debate. They are some organizations are related. I asked the girl and she was just shamelessly laughing. And just keep maintaining their volunteers. They're still working on it. That's it.
Right up until the election, right?
Yeah, now it doesn't even matter. Their job was to suppress us as much as they can so that the word doesn't get out.
It's unbelievable. Well, it's believable, but it's unfortunate. What other sort of pushback have you had in the last couple of weeks? Like, did they try to change the times last minute on you in any of the debates that you've attended? And like, have things been? Have you had to juggle the challenges? I'd love to hear about how you plowed through some challenges.
Yeah, one thing is CBC. When they do their coverage, they say there are 5 major parties. So they tell their views and stuff on their website.
Yeah.
So we are the 6th party, so they do not acknowledge there's a 6th party too. But then on good side, Vancouver Sun does give us equal coverage.
Oh, great.
Yeah, Vancouver Sun, they are doing a good job.
Right on.
They even made some videos on each party, 6 videos, and that's on the YouTube channel. And I'm getting highest views out of 6 candidates. And then we have Surrey Now Leader, which is local Surrey paper, and they cover everything as well.
Okay, that's good to hear. So you got some coverage in the Vancouver Sun and the Surrey. What's that local one?
Surrey Now Leader.
Surrey Now Leader.
Yeah.
Is that a daily or is that a weekly?
It's a weekly.
It's a weekly.
Comes on every Thursday.
Cool. That's really good. That's good news. That's fabulous. Not the typical news I would have expected. So that's wonderful. And I think that you added a lot of legitimacy to your cause by founding a political party. It's hard to ignore, and it just puts a foundation under your feet, especially when there's other candidates for council that are part of it, and they're spreading the word, and that name, People's Council, follows them wherever they go along with you, and it just emboldens all of you together. I thought that was a wonderful thing. Has that shone through at all? Has what I just suggested shown its strength in any way?
Yeah, totally. So our 5 counselors. Most of them, they have been persecuted at work, and it was their first time in politics. And I see that they are getting hang of it, speaking to public, and they have been on TV and some other interviews, and one or two of them are really getting quite aggressive and emboldened. And
Great.
I can see that their soul is happy that finally they let it out. So, and and we have about 5-10 volunteers who reach to us and who are spreading our flyers. So what this does is it kind of builds a foundation and a team
Yeah.
and collaboration, and
Yeah.
ultimately whatever result comes, we will still be around, and we have a forum and a platform to continue our activities. So yeah, it's definitely win-win.
So regardless of the results on Saturdays, you're going to continue with People's Council. You're going to maintain the party and just hopefully grow stronger for the next opportunity to take office. Is that your plan?
Yeah, that's the plan, and we'll reach out to more people continuously. And this time, we have an identity, and people know, so it
Yeah.
becomes easier. This election just gives us a big push up. For instance, we went to many Sikh temples.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, they don't let you promote yourself even in their compound. But now we actually went inside officially and addressed the people visiting temple.
Wow.
And yeah, and a lot of local radios called us because they cover election. Yesterday we had this Omni TV.
Oh, I've heard of Omni. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
Omni
they
TV isn't do they have a local station then, or is it national? Like I've heard of Omni. Go
it's
ahead.
there's a one in Omni Vancouver and one in Toronto area.
Okay,
So the
cool.
Vancouver team visited us yesterday, and me and 3 of our counselors, they interviewed them, and it was supposed to be aired tonight at 7:30. Their news.
Great.
They reached out to all the candidates one by one, so they to us as well. But the other candidates are already known, the big ones. But
Yeah.
for us, it's a major benefit.
Yeah, great.
So yeah, it helps a lot to formally fight in the elections to get more recognition. And next time you release a press, and they will do it for you, that People's Council said this on this topic. So yeah,
Okay, so let's talk some numbers. Like, I think the last time we spoke, you told me that somewhere around 30 or 33% of eligible voters voted in the last Surrey municipal election. So, like, how many people is that? Do you recall off the top of your head? And
oh
also a
yeah,
follow up, like, how many votes do you feel you need to win?
yeah. Surrey in 2018 elections, there were about 300,000 registered voters. Out of that, about little over 100,000 actually voted. One
Wow.
third basically. And the winner had 45,000 votes, Doug McCallum. But at that time, we just had 2 major parties, and his own party is split now, 4 and 4.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
Wonder.
and they,
Wow, that's interesting.
yeah, he had Brenda Lockie, and she and along with 3 councillors split from them because she is for RCMP and Doug McCallum is for local Surrey Police Service.
That split the party. Wow. How
Yeah,
does that split the party? Could
yeah.
they just? It's
So
weird.
it's yeah. So it's we have a national police federation, which is RCMP union.
Yeah, yeah, more of that.
Yeah. So they are heavily funding Brenda Lockie's campaign because her stance is the moment she's chosen, she will reverse the transition from RCMP to Surrey Police Service. So they are a
Oh,
big stakeholder
Is the RCMP allowed? The RCMP's union, are they allowed to fund political campaigns? Isn't there a law against that?
Yeah, normally if you promote something, you have to register as a third party advertiser.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they did or they do directly or indirectly, but that's what it is. They approach all candidates. I got email from them early on that what is my stance on transition because they want to check out all the candidates. So they are
Wow.
very aggressive, and I mean it's not a surprise. In Vancouver, the Vancouver Police Department literally endorsed a mayoral candidate. So they endorse like officially that we endorse, and it's unusual
Hmm.
because police not only they maintain law and order, but they have access to database for all the citizens.
Hmm.
So it's a kind of dubious role that what else they are doing to support the person. So no surprise, RCMP is they are their favorite candidate, and it's just like any union. It's their job security. If they lose Surrey, which is a very big city, more cities can copy that. So it's just good
Yeah.
old your own job security, and you will do whatever for it.
I wonder how much it is in Surrey's interest, like a local police service versus the presence of a federal police service. Wouldn't it cost Surrey more money to fund a local police service as opposed to having their police funded by the federal government? But I guess there'd be some pros and cons to that.
Yeah,
You know, because then they're taking orders from Ottawa, not from the mayor's office.
yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Using the pros and cons, they both have.
Yeah.
I believe RCMP's pro is it's cheaper because they already have infrastructure build up, and Surrey mostly outsources it, so they pay per person that allocated to them.
Mm.
So otherwise, they don't have to do their own maintenance. It's outsourcing of police.
Yeah, like I know the RCMP, they shuffle their officers around. So there's probably like I know RCMP officers that are stationed in northern Alberta right now who would love a chance to be transferred to Surrey to live in the lower mainland area at some point in their career for their 3-year contract or something like that. So it's probably on the eyes and ears of many RCMP officers and representatives of their union throughout the whole country to the outcome of this election. That's really, I'm curious about that. That's a major shift in the community to go from a federal funded police service to local. So what is your preference on that? Do you have a preference, or is your preference to be concerned about other things?
Yeah, National Police Federation. They when they emailed me, I gave a reply to them, and when someone asked me, that's the reply I sent to them. That's my stand, which is that we don't know why the transition happened. Their claim is it will reduce the crime. That's what their premise was, but it's questionable. Changing police doesn't reduce crime. Crime is reflection of society. But so we need to understand their official reasoning, and and then I say that if it were 2 3 years ago, we could go with RCMP, assuming they don't have any sound reasoning to transition. But in 2 3 years, everything has changed. Now, RCMP has proven that they are more working for federal government
Yeah,
than people.
yeah,
So, in light of this situation, there's no slam dunk for RCMP. And if everything checks out equal, then referendum is what we can go for so that Surrey people decide, because current mayor claims that its people want transition. But others question it. So best thing is let people decide it. And speaking about cons of Surrey Police Service, local police, local police service answers to mayor. So
Hmm.
if mayor is bad, then we have same problem that RCMP has.
Yeah, I know. It's like if you get a mayor who's all about defund the police, then the police are going to have a bad relationship with the mayor, and but the mayor's going to have the support of the mob of the woke left in the community, which I don't think is the majority. It's just the loudest or the establishment. But then if there's a rift between the mayor and the police service, a local police service,
Yeah.
then you have a problem that could escalate and affect the community for years and maybe even decades. To a problem between the mayor and the police service is a generational issue, potentially a generational issue that could it's hard to turn around because a mayor can cut costs, a mayor can fire chiefs and so on, right? That's how I understand it.
Yeah, all those problems can come up. But I was thinking more in opposite side. What if mayor has nexus with the local police, and they want to enforce anything like COVID mandates, and so they can do anything to us.
Hmm.
It's a little bit harder for federal mandates to implement. They really have to
Hmm.
align everything. But in this one, mayor says anything and it can get done. And during these past mandates, we know that no mayor objected to it.
Yeah.
Nowhere in, they just said, okay, why bother? Our position is not challenged. We are collecting our salary. So
Yeah.
just close your eyes. We don't see anything. So in this situation, if even if we had full Surrey police service, it wouldn't have changed anything. What RCMP was enforcing, just Surrey police service would have enforced.
Mm.
So so that's the reason we don't have any preference. We will try to negotiate with both of them who is more willing to uphold people's rights and our Charter of Rights. So we are playing middle course for now.
Mm. Wow. So yeah, I'm curious. This is a very important election for Surrey with all of that on the line. I mean, that's a tipping point that is unseen. That results are unforeseen.
Yeah,
And
and it makes it so interesting that we have one sitting MP, one sitting MLA, one ex-MP, MLA, and mayor, one sitting mayor, and one sitting councillors. These are all veterans. They're all aligned with some vested interest, and they all jumped in it together. So destiny happened, and it seems that they are kind of tied with each other. No one has clear lead. So it's something to really watch for generations. What happens,
mm,
and
yeah,
our job is. I wanted to reach all the freedom groups as because they are 10%, 10-15% at least, like 10% are officially unvaccinated people in Surrey as per government.
mm. I've heard it's an average of 15% across nationwide.
Yeah, Surrey
Uh,
has a higher vaccination rate than rest of the nation. Like
okay, that makes.
interior BC has much lower vaccination rate, but cities have more, and Surrey, Vancouver, they are same 90%.
Mm, wow.
So if those 10% people vote for us, it's a very good chance to win. But our challenge is, I don't think everyone even knows about us still, because I keep getting calls from people who say, "Oh, I just came to know about you and I'm voting for you, guaranteed." But then I think that if they came to know just now, how many are out there who are our potential supporter, but they just don't know?
Yeah, that's worth thinking about in order to keep reaching out. But I think the fact that people are calling you up saying they just heard about you is also something very positive.
Positive.
Yeah, because they did in fact hear about you. They're not someone who did not hear about you or did or heard about you on Monday as opposed to Thursday before the election. You know, I'm pleased to hear that. And so let's get back to the mayoral debate. So those of you that are listening, guys, and watching this, please feel free to chime in with any questions. Higher immigration rates as well. Yeah. So Jason Marturano, he says more people are dying of fentanyl than COVID. Well, yeah, we've all know someone who's died from fentanyl. Unfortunately, that's crazy. Go
Yeah,
ahead,
so
Larry.
when they have asked about crime question,
Mm,
that gang violence is happening.
yeah,
So I tell them, let's put the numbers. How many people died because of gang violence? How many because of car accidents? How many because of diseases, because of poor diet like Coke and McDonald's? And
yeah,
how many have died because of overdoses because government sent them into depression? So let's put all those numbers, and then we know that people who die from gang violence, there's minuscule, but there's a whole lot of other causes, and they don't talk about it because they talk about something that seems sensational at the point, because the few shootings happened in Surrey, and pretty much generally one gang member kills another one, and it
yeah,
doesn't impact public that much, but it makes a very newspaper. The news media likes it because it just
yeah.
guns whenever
Sells
gun.
sells
Yeah,
papers. A good headline. There's
yeah,
a picture of blood on concrete that helps sell papers.
yeah.
It's the same thing in Winnipeg because that's where I grew up. And for much of my life growing up in Winnipeg, it was the murder capital of Canada.
Okay.
And everyone was always reminding me that when I would leave Winnipeg to visit friends in other cities. Um, but the fact was, I never knew anyone that got killed. And it was usually gang on gang violence. And unfortunately, there was sometimes innocent
Some,
bystanders,
yeah,
but for the most part, it was targeted on gang. Right? They weren't targeting civilians or innocent people. They were targeting each other, and that's not okay. It's still people killing people, but it was such a minor problem in the grand scheme of just daily life in Winnipeg that the only reason we'd learned about it is because the papers and the media
yes,
would sensationalize it, and then it would become a topic. And if they never talked about it, no one would have even known.
exactly. Yeah, I've never seen a shooting myself, and
Yeah,
if you don't see the news, we won't know. But I
yeah.
believe they talk about it because they want to take your focus on something else than the real problem, so they just make it and blow it up.
Well, look at the ads right next to the pictures of the murder scene, right? Like there could be some national car ad in the newspaper right below the picture and the story of some murder scene. Like when I used
Yeah,
to shoot, like it's how it works, right? Like yeah, you would do that too if you were the publisher, if that was your job. That's their job to do that. But when I was shooting photographs for newspapers, they loved blood on concrete next to a curb,
wow.
next to broken glass and
The
or twisted metal. Yeah, that pool of
pool of
blood
blood.
was
Yeah,
is what they want, right? And then that gets people looking, going, "Oh, that's disgusting. What happened?" And then they read and they go, and it triggers people. It's better than a headline. It's better than clickbait. It's a picture of blood. Something bad happened, and it's what they are after. It does well for them. Again, guys, feel free to ask questions here. Jason's chiming in again. I've seen the homeless population in Surrey, lack of mental health resources, and an abundance of drugs for people creating this issue. It's probably really true, and I might be willing to challenge you on the statement, Jason, regarding lack of mental health resources, because there's a lot of resources available for the homeless, especially here in Vancouver, but they're not taking them when they go to the places where there is opportunity for help and resources. They have rules they have to abide by there, like no drinking, no drugs, and that sort of thing. So there's a lot of homeless shelters that sit empty, and there's mental health professionals there waiting to support someone who are not working because there's no one showing up asking for support. How do you force mental illness support on someone who's not asking, right?
Yeah, and government can do all they can, but the crux is also why does it happen? It's something is already very wrong,
Yeah, that's right.
and
Yeah,
generally it comes from government. If you double the housing prices, gas and food prices, and then lock people down and shut small businesses down, it has its implications. People get depressed, they go more into drugs to relieve themselves. They don't have money to pay rent, they are at the dead end. It's all societal issues. That's what
yeah.
my answer typically in debates are, that we need to simultaneously look at root causes rather than just putting bandages on the problem and feel good.
And I think the root causes can go even further back than the circumstances of the here and now. I mean, I'm 46, and for much of my life, I've seen more and more people coming from broken homes and not a strong influences, positive influences in their household while growing up, and challenges, broken homes, parents that are in the world of substance abuse with poor habits, not refining themselves, not taking responsibility for their actions, and then kids growing up expecting and normalizing in that behavior becoming normalized, and then circumstances like the last 2 years happen where someone's already very fragile due to the 30 years of their upbringing, when suddenly these situations occur like the last 2.5 years, and it tips them over the edge very easily. But if there was more of a backbone in the family, there was more of a backbone in the community to support someone who's having a hard time growing up, then they might have more of a backbone to sustain themselves during challenges like the last 2 years. So the root of the problem is more than the last 2 years. It's encouraging to it's having we need to encourage strength in the family. We need to encourage strength in the household, and that's, I think, something that's really lacking, and no politician tries to touch that. It's the
Well,
traditional ones.
you are absolutely right. So these are the foundation, and last 2 years was just last straw that broke camel's back, kind
Yeah,
of. And ironically, every policy of government is attacking family values, religions, and your gender identity.
yeah, it's
You
breaking it
won-
up.
you wonder if it's a coincidence or it's well orchestrated to break down the fabric of society. So our platform has fight against OG 123 and critical race theory, and we have much lower academic standards in schools than the other countries. So
Hmm.
you just give easy life to kids instead of teaching them academics, science, math, cultural, sports. Teach them sexual education at grade 6, no, age 6. It's in elementary school now,
Yeah, I know.
that they show them sexual pictures and sexual poses and encourage them to transition sex. So it's a whole concerted efforts to break down people, society, family, confuse them, so they just are subject of state instead of any of their core values, and any strength that they can get, just take that away from them, and that
Yeah,
results in crime and all kind of other things.
just a deteriorating community, which leads to a deteriorating society. And then, you know, constellation prizes in elementary school does not raise a strong generation. There should be no such thing as fourth place ribbons. You
Yeah.
know, it's
the,
it's just
yeah.
absurd. Like, no, you either win. Second or third is good because it's close to first, but fourth place not good enough. Try
Yeah,
harder.
yeah, because you need to teach kids a little bit competitiveness. That's
Yeah.
because Once they're out of school, rest of the life, they need to survive. They need to be stronger. And that comes by learning competitive and working hard for it. So their schools are taking those incentives away from kids.
Yeah.
Instead, they're providing them safe spaces, and instead of telling them be strong, safe space and stuff. So it's all is happening there.
Yeah, and then we see these younger generations coming into adulthood now. I mean, for about maybe roughly the last decade or so, the new adults are expecting some sort of, harmonized union in society that's going to treat everyone and speak the same way and be the same way, and wanting safe spaces in the workplace. And it's a clear sign of consolation prizes in elementary school that started 20 some
Yeah,
years ago, failing us already, and we got to turn it around somehow.
yeah, same thing. These days there's a graduation ceremony at preschool, then kindergarten, then elementary, and then secondary. And a lot of kids, they just don't pursue anything beyond because they have been turned into uncompetitive and their ambition is less.
Mm,
Uh, that's and no wonder the youth will be more attracted towards gangs because there's not much promise in their career otherwise.
mm. What about at these debates? Has the job shortage come up at all? Like, there's a staffing shortage almost everywhere. Did anyone ever ask questions about, how to subsidize or, how to encourage more young people to take up trades, and to encourage more young people to become entrepreneurs and start businesses, become innovators? Has that ever come up at all? Because I'm afraid that might be lacking.
They don't talk about that. They talk about gang violence or youth going to gangs, but they don't talk about underlying reasons and weakness of our schooling system. What they talk about is the lack of permitting process for housing. That permitting process is very slow. So I answered in one of my responses that it's because a whole lot of people are let go, and other people they started working from home for in the government, and it's definitely not as efficient. So we have shortage of employees, which is government engineered everywhere. A lot of people are discouraged. They're doing early retirement if their finances allow them. They're just discouraged. So
From
it's a
working.
whole, yeah. So it's a whole lot of societal things going on. There's a reason why in front of driver's license, if you want to book the test, young kids, it's a 6 month waiting time. Hospitals always have been waiting time. If you go to the new immigrants come here, there's a social insurance number. The Services Canada office, you can see 100, 200 people always lined up there. It's just happening all around.
What does the government have to benefit from these circumstances by slowing things down, by not encouraging, young people to take up trades, by how by potentially being at, encouraging the breakup of the family? What sort of benefits would a government have for that? Because these people in government, I mean, let's face it, they have families and kids of their own too. So
Yeah.
if they're buying into an agenda like this, then what benefit do they have? What am I missing when I consider all of this?
Yeah, I don't know that much detail, but what I can clearly see, there's in the school boards and Ministry of Education for BC, it's more controlled by some special interest groups which cite some kind of research, and that tells them that students shouldn't be burdened until probably grade 6. So they pretty much there's no homework, nothing. And then they come up with some research that this is how we should teach students so that they need to make minimum effort. So something is inherent in their policy. And then we have teachers union, and some teachers are very good. I've seen firsthand in my kids' school, but they are not allowed to do what they want, and they just have to mellow down, just like everyone. So we have just put shackles in our own education system. And another thing is we don't have as much parents' involvement in
Mm-hmm.
education. It's the premise is that it's a three-way partnership, teachers, parents, and students. But
Mm-hmm.
more and more, parents' participation is lacking. If you make their life miserable, that both parents have to work full time,
Yeah,
they have
paycheck to
no,
paycheck.
yeah. So they think it is going to school good enough. So they can do more than that, and that's another issue that government engineered. Always inflation, keep people always on their heel, hand to mouth, which is happening in on even bigger scale now. So good luck with that.
So this the breakup of the family, this government engineered circumstance could be fueled by special profits of special interest groups or something like that. I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around it. Like when I was a kid and I would hear about war is all about profits.
Yeah,
I couldn't accept that because so much destruction, and you don't have to be very old to understand that killing each other is bad, but for profits is so much worse. And to think that there was someone else in some other country profiting huge off of young people going out and killing each other for the sake and innocent bystanders and civilians being always in the middle, caught in the middle. To think about that when I was 14 was just shocking to realize that World War One, World War Two was so profitable for certain interests, certain groups with certain interests, and then to learn about like the industrial military complex, or how do we pronounce it? Military industrial
yeah,
complex. That's right, and and then to think that like it's perpetuated to societal level where we have the breakup of the family, uh, consolation prizes for kids, fourth place ribbons, and inflation causing people to live paycheck to paycheck, both parents having to work full time and still not enough, and lucky if you can have two parents to work, all for some sort of behind the curtain profits that is it's not going in the right direction, and it's going to be a hard one to turn around. So I'm so pleased to hear and learn of people like yourself, not only running for mayor but having formed a party to put a foundation underneath your talking points, and grow a party to support the need for change at the grassroots level. Um, did you ever think you'd be in a position like this in 2019? If 2017, if I were to have met you and we talked about politics, would you have ever said that you would get into a circumstance like this?
no way, not even close. It's not until last year that Trudeau was doing a lot of bad things and it was just building up inside me that I studied different political parties, and PPC's platform seemed no-brainer to me.
Mm,
So that was first time, but I had never. I'm not a very vocal person. I'm more thinking person, and this thing needs a lot of personal reach out and speeches and motivating people. I never focus on that side, but with need, you learn quickly, and it's better learning than through a course, just real life on the job.
Yeah, the real world teaches you faster
Yeah,
when you
so
have a
yeah,
goal.
yeah. So I had no. I'm not even person who wants to become very high ambition. I can just live simple life and I'm content. That's how I was. So yeah, it wasn't planned. It just so happened.
And you were a software engineer. That's what you've been for the last 20, 30 years, right? Is that
Yeah,
correct?
20
Software
years.
developer.
Yeah, more like 20 years.
And I know the software developers, because of what I'm doing with Jobless Jobs, they all just want to be left alone. They're just like
Yeah.
this. I want to stay home and work. I don't want to see anyone. I can just, zone out into this world of code and be left alone. So it's not characteristic for a software developer like yourself to, it doesn't match the mold. It's a contradiction to just, okay, I'm a software developer. I think I'm going to start a political party and put my face out there.
So most of the people, their brain works, but it works in a tunnel.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's why this entire software industry and Silicon Valley, they are totally aligned with government. In Canada with Liberal, and in US with what's the party? Not the Republican, the
Democrat.
Democrats. So they're
Yeah.
totally aligned with them. So that's how this field is, and they are very convinced that they are right, and you cannot convince them otherwise. I don't have any of friends reach out to me supporting my mayoral bid. For them, probably it's a shocker that what is he even talking about.
Yeah.
But I am just made with a different mold. For for the context, I do horse riding, archery, shooting, hunting, run 10 kilometer. I have a Taekwondo black belt. So I'm
Nice.
just and I'm ambidextrous. I can work with both hands. So that's how I'm made. All these things give you a broader, bigger perspective, holistic perspective, and
Hmm.
I can see things that others don't see. That's how it is.
Great. I love it. It's so good to see. Have you been called a racist or a white supremacist yet, or have you been called a misogynist?
Uh, we have been called extremists. So CTV,
Extremist.
yeah, CTV ran an article that
Yeah, I saw that one.
is this
Go
elections
ahead.
good old elections, or is it some extremist candidates have entered the field? I mean, I consider it as a badge of honor, but from their perspective, and they have collected my pictures from social media. One protesting against Justin Trudeau at area banquet hall in Surrey. He was supposed to come. We got the news, and 100 people showed up, and he ended up canceling his visit. And one of our guy, he had a symbolic noose in his hands with Justin's name on it, and that got
Oh,
good coverage at that point by press. And they again showed that picture that I hang up with these guys. So that's the only thing I have seen so far.
Lou Ban writes, so glad that you are running Amrit and People's Council Surrey. That's really great. Yeah. I'm going to scroll back here. Joe Kennedy had chimed in a few moments ago. I spoke with him last week, by the way. I had a
Yeah,
great chat with him. I love talking with
yeah,
him. Joe wrote consolidation of power. The same people who believe in critical race theory believe that there is only power struggles between identity groups. Yes, politicians have families as well, but the current ones pushing the ideology don't believe that they will be affected by it. It's so strange. There's got to be some weird twist in their mind, thinking, well, that's going to happen to them and not me. Critical race theory doesn't include me or something. They got to have to suspend some sort of belief or disbelief in order to go along with this stuff. It makes me wonder what's going on in their brain. Like, I'm really curious. Like, what what would a psychologist, a bipartisan psychologist, have to say about the mind of someone in that circumstance? There's something going on there. I'm very curious.
weird things happen. First thing, elites, when you have $100 billion in bank, their life is very different. They move
Mm,
among different people. Their kids go to
yeah,
different schools.
yeah,
So they live on clouds. So they think that it won't impact them, but you can never predict. For example, Michael Douglas, the iconic actor,
yeah.
his son is a drug addict and he actually literally sells drugs and he was imprisoned for it.
Mm,
And how do you believe that? So so same thing, these elites, they think they are impervious to it. It's just because for them it's them and us commoners. So these
yeah.
rules are for commoners and they know that they will be immune to it. For instance, this vaccine, the news is they took placebo, not the real one, even if it was shown on TV.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And there are a lot of 80 years old senators in US, including Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden. There's a whole lot of them, and no one was affected by COVID, whereas the common people have been dying. News is they have been taking ivermectin, and they are banned for the commoners. So it's
Mm,
always like that. It's us versus commoners.
hmm.
So when they make rules, it's always for commoners.
Yeah, and I think that we got at the government level, at the federal level, I think we have to remove corporate funding. Like one real burn that hurts me badly is a union called Unifor.
Okay.
They're the union for journalists all across Canada. For much of the, am I allowed to call them journalists? For much of the big media organizations, I think it's a compliment to call them organizations. Let's call them what they are. They're a company. They're for profits. And now they're publicly traded, so they're about short-term profits, clickbait, and not about information for the
Yeah.
long-term benefit of society. But the Unifor is the union for much of Canada's journalists,
Okay.
professional working journalists, and they're throwing their money behind supporting leftist political parties. During the last snap election, they were slandering everything to do with the Conservative Party, 100%. They were just saying like anything in the Conservative Party was just like as negative as they could legally call it, and it was all slander commercials and it was all a slander campaign funded by the union dues paid by journalists. So when their union is so left leaning, then how could they go against that in the narrative? Because like in a newsroom, you have to learn to read between the lines. Like like in any sort of closed community, in any sort of closed culture, there's rules that are said and rules that are not said.
Yeah.
But
Unwritten rules.
yeah, and you know them somehow just by having to navigate the theater of the culture there, having to navigate through interactions, and you start to pick up on these rules that aren't spoken, and so that's how journalists learn what stories the editor is going to like, as opposed to what stories the editor is not going to like, because journalists are competing amongst each other.
Yeah.
They want to get their story to be the headline. They want page one, and if they're going to get page one, then they have to meet the narrative. And how do you learn what the narrative is? You read between the lines and find the unwritten rules to never break them. And if the unwritten rules are coming down the pipeline from a left-leaning union, on and the rules are being enforced unwritten, like silently, quietly on journalists, then we're going to end up with a far left-leaning publications, which is exactly what's happening. So why can't we? I mean, I have no problem with unions. So when I was injured on the job a couple years back, if I didn't have the union supporting me, I would have been kicked to the curb. And so I was nothing. I was small. I was small and disposable to this company, but the union supported me, and I was very grateful for that. So there's from my point of view, there's purpose there when you need a voice to speak on your behalf.
Yeah.
Um, but when the union is enforcing ideologies, then we got a problem, and especially when the union is forcing their ideologies on journalism, and there's no room for another side of the debate, another a nuance to the argument, to the topic. It's a one way ticket to bad, and so that's my issue with the on the federal level. It's shocking to think it's happening, and I can't help but expect it to be happening in smaller pockets at the municipal level. With all these construction unions in the Lower Mainland, how many of them are funding the municipal mayoral candidates, right? I'm curious, when you're mayor, I I'm gonna love to talk to you again and ask you where the money's going, and maybe if you can dig up some receipts and paper trails from the previous years, so we could see maybe some sort of patterns that represent, where the special interest groups are and where they're coming from, if they exist. Is that something you're curious about?
Yeah, speaking about unions, their base premise is they protect workers against vulture capitalists and owners. So that's
Mm-hmm.
good. But over time, just like human beings, they are corruptible. Unions are corruptible too, their chiefs. They may not always look out for workers. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, and they might shake hands with the owners. They provide them monetary incentive. For instance, during COVID, no union protected the employees getting fired because of not taking vaccine. So they can turn as well. So
Yeah.
enemy is the corruption. The human mind is corruptible. So nothing is sacred. Today you are good. If someone corrupts you, you are bad. So so they are good, but not always.
Yeah, the premises is good, but like all circumstances, there's corruption. There's capability for corruption. So, I mean, we need to keep the books open. We need transparency in
Yeah.
these places, right? Is that something as mayor that you can facilitate? Like, open the books up, make them transparent, make the spending public knowledge.
Yeah. So I hate corruption because once corruption creeps in, it's just slippery slope. It's a matter of time that society becomes poor, rich become richer, poor become poorer. That's direct result of human corruption. And I will do everything I can as a mayor to dig out the papers, because there's a lot of speculation that certain developers are favored, their projects are approved, the others are
Mm-hmm.
not. And you need to dig out some paper trails, some proofs, and I I fully want to do it. That's one of the motivations as well, to clean the city hall as much as we can so that it's fair to everyone. Now,
Yeah.
I know in Canada there's a lot of handicaps on police investigation because of privacy rules, and a lot of time people do wrong thing and they get away, or if they get caught, the sentence is very minimal. So we need to do something about it. And City Hall, yeah, I am committed to learn what happens there, and who is getting money, and why the permitting is slow, favors someone and not others. But we know there is corruption there. There's
Mm-hmm.
a lot of rumors, and where there's a smoke, there's fire.
Mm-hmm.
We'll definitely dig into it.
So wanting to facilitate transparency and follow the money, is that perhaps why you've been labeled an extremist?
Yeah, we are labeled extremist. I don't know what was in their mind. Uh, we haven't made much statement about that we will open the books, because this topic doesn't even come up much.
Mm.
but they probably just want to scare people that I think it's more anti-vaxxing and stuff. Those are the labels they're putting, and
Hmm.
that goes in hand with extreme views, as if extreme views is wrong. It's not even wrong. Extreme means you really take a stand. You take
Yeah,
some stand, right?
you take a stand, and now that I think of it, CBC running that story about People's Council being an extremist group. I believe whatever journalist ran that story is a member of Unifor, the union that I was speaking of before.
Okay.
I mean, I'd have to double check that, but I'm pretty sure CBC journalists. Now, the management level, they're not. But when they become management, they came out of a lower level position, so they would have been unionized by Unifor at some point, and then became management because they suit the narrative, right? They got hired,
Yeah.
and it's another case of the fox guarding the henhouse.
Yeah.
Um, another place we need transparency. I'm really curious though, Amrit. Like I'm very excited to hear some good news on Saturday. It makes me wish I lived in Surrey so I could vote for you and for the candidates in People's Council, the councillor candidates. And so for someone who has never voted before, who lives in Surrey, how do they vote for you? How do they find out how to vote for you and support other candidates in the People's Council? How do they find out about voting for you?
Yeah. So in municipal elections, I learned that anyone can vote, go to any polling booth. You don't have to go in your neighborhood school. You can
Hmm.
go to any polling booth. Election day is on October 15th, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And someone who is 18 plus and is resident of Surrey can go to any polling booth and take two IDs, one picture, one anything non-picture, including driver's license, social insurance number, your bank cards, your electricity bills, and they will register you on the spot, and then you can vote.
Mm.
That's the normal process. But some people who have already voted, they get voting cards at home. They get mail voting cards, so that's easier. You just take your voting card and you just need to show one picture ID, prove that you are who you are.
Mm.
And since we are standing under People's Council Surrey, so all our councillor candidates, after their name, it will be appended party name, People's Council Surrey. And the other part is Surrey United and Surrey Forward. So they all have party names after the candidate name, unless you are independent, in which case there's nothing. So yeah, look for People's Council Surrey against name of councillors, and that's easy way to identify. For mayoral, it's much easier. There are 8 candidates. My name comes first. It's last name Birring B, so happen to be first. And there's a name as well, party's name, People's Council Surrey.
Awesome. So yeah, so the mayoral candidates are listed in alphabetical order, so you're at the top of the list.
Yeah,
Awesome. That's great.
easy to find. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so you guys got a website too, right?
Yes, it's called peoplescouncilsurrey.ca. So people's with
Yeah.
an S, peoplescouncilsurrey.ca. And
Wonderful.
website has our platform and the handle for our Facebook, Instagram, and Telegram groups, which are all People's Council Surrey. If you look for it, you'll find
Hmm.
it.
And so, um, oh yeah, anyone who's listening to this, know that this conversation will live on the Facebook group after we're done here. So if you're listening to this after Wednesday night, Thursday or Friday, feel free to tag someone you know in Surrey in the comments of this conversation, of this post, so they can learn about Amrit and his newly founded People's Council Party. Pardon me. So then here we are, roughly the last 48 hours of the election. What's the next 2 days like for you? You said you got a candidates meeting, a debate tomorrow. what else is happening? What's the next 48 hours like for you?
Yeah, tomorrow evening debate, and on Friday we are going to some Muslim mosques. We never contacted them before, but one of our volunteers contacted, and they're very receptive because they also believe in family values and what's happening in school systems. They do not appreciate that. So we are going to visit them, other than just go to door and try to reach as many people as we can. So that's always
That's
around.
great. So you're gonna sleep. Remember to sleep at some point. I'm sure
Yeah,
you're busy.
I managed to catch about 6 hours of sleep, and it's working well for me these days, even though my normal is 8 to 9 hours.
Mm,
But I feel fine with six now.
not good. You have a lot of reason to stay awake too, but I hope you keep looking after yourself. Any final thoughts? Anything that you'd like to say that we didn't touch up on?
Yeah, so any people who are living in Surrey, or they know someone in Surrey, please call them up. This is no time to be complacent. And this is what will take us to victory, because we don't have paid social media ads. In fact, I tried yesterday. We have a flyer which talks about hire back unvaccinated, and the ad just doesn't get approved. So, so yeah, we have severe disadvantage there. So word of mouth, sharing things to your supporters, that's what our lifeblood is. And I'll ask anyone who wants to vote us or who appreciate what we are doing, please make some effort and spread the word as much as you can.
Great. I'm going to be watching closely. I'm going to get out and vote here in Vancouver. Wish I could support you more in Surrey, but I just can't vote there. But I'll be watching. I'll be keeping my ears open as to the results there. And regardless of what happens, let's chat again in a few weeks. I'd love to know your point of view, looking back on things. But I'm confident that you're going to have a reason to be celebrating, and like many people who would support you, will have many reasons to celebrate after Saturday. So let's see this happen.
Yeah, keep the fingers crossed, and thanks, George, for all you do for us and
It's
our
a pleasure.
supporters. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. I'm really honored to find myself in this position where I can support and open up a door to information, much needed information. So that said, anyone listening, this conversation is going to live on the Facebook group after we're done here. So feel free to tag anyone you know that lives in Surrey or even the surrounding area, because they'll have friends in Surrey, and get Amrit Birring's message out, and spread the word of People's Council in Surrey, and vote for Amrit for mayor of Surrey this coming Saturday. All the best to you, Amrit. Let's talk again in the near future.
Yeah. Thanks, George. Let's talk. Yeah. Have a good
All right.
evening.
You too. Have a great next couple days, and goodbye, everybody.